So I'm just going to get right to the point. The new prayers could be a problem for PvP, at least one prayer in particular. So let me start this off by showing you the max hit with an AGS in just completely normal average gear, low cost gear. It's a 78. Now let me show you the new max hit with the same gear. Is an 80. That's not a big jump, right? That doesn't really seem like that big of a deal. Okay, so here's the same thing. Normal prayer book, but now I have max gear with the current max gear that we have in this game with our normal max hit, which is an 86, which is pretty high. Now let's switch to the new prayer book. So the new max hit with the current max gear is an 88. And then if we use the new upgraded Berserker ring, because this is going to be coming along with Desert Treasure 2 as well, we can now hit a 90. That's, let me just put this into perspective. Around the beginning of old school RuneScape, this was our best possible gear, and the max with this gear was an 80. All of this gear was available in late 2013 on old school RuneScape, and here we are nearly 10 years later, and the new max hit that we're about to have in this game is a 90. That is insane to me, and I'm not even saying that this is the problem. This technically isn't even the problematic prayer that I'm talking about. Although I do like this being added to PvP because personally, I like a little bit of chaos in PvP. I have no problem, despite the fact it might not be fun at times, I have no problem being stacked out for a 90 AGS if some guy has the new prayers and absolute max gear. He's got to be risking a good decent amount. I have no problem with that, even though it is technically power creep, because being able to hit an 86 versus being able to hit a 90, I can tell you that is a huge difference. Even though it's a difference of 4 numbers, it's a huge difference. But I'm not even talking about that prayer. What I'm going to be talking about in this video is the Rebuke prayer. So I have both of my accounts here. And this account, I am going to have it use the new prayer Rebuke, which again is going to increase recoil damage by 50%. So what recoil damage would mean is things like Rings of Recoil, which obviously is in the Ring of Suffering, the Vengeance spell, stuff like that. And I've cast Vengeance on this account, and now I'm going to use the Rebuke prayer, which again will increase my recoil damage by 50%. So now, let me do a special attack on this account. 52, and I just had 58 damage reflected back onto me, and all that account did was just use a Vengeance and the Rebuke prayer, and it hit higher than my actual spec hit him. So now I'm going to put on a Ring of Suffering, which has my Rings of Recoil in it. I'm also going to Venge. So now, when I go for a special attack on this account, I'm 121 HP, keep in mind. If I go for a spec, I hit a 75, and I went down from 121 HP down to 25 HP. And this person, this target, they didn't even have to do anything. Now imagine that you combine that with the Karasi, the Void Waker, any sort of anti-PKing weapon. That is ridiculous. That is so strong. This account literally dealt more damage with no armor, basically nothing but a Ring of Suffering, against an account that has absolute max. And if you end up getting a lucky enough hit, I could be fully stacked out from 121 HP. Look at that. 10 HP. That is from absolute max. That is the highest HP you can have in this game. And all I had to do on this account was just simply have a Ring of Recoil and throw up a Vengeance. That is insane. That is beyond busted in my opinion. If that makes its way into PvP, that is going to cause so much mayhem. And I feel like it's one of those things that actually genuinely ends up breaking PvP. Just to give you a nice frame of reference as well, this is currently what happens if you special attack somebody who has Vengeance and Rings of Recoil on. Well, I hit an 18, so it's not really a great example. Again, 121 HP, 71, and I go from 121 HP down to 60 HP. Now keep in mind, that's still pretty sizable, but That is nowhere near what the Rebuke prayer will actually do if it comes into the game. The problem with a prayer like this being in PvP is that it essentially takes out all of the skill in PvP. Let me give you a scenario. First of all, anybody who's going to go PKing is automatically going to get this prayer. You'd be a fool not to use this prayer. And let's take this opponent for example. They have the Rebuke prayer activated and all they have is a Karasi, nothing else. I spec them and I died from the vengeance and the recoil alone. And then on top of that, if that wouldn't have killed me, the Karasi guaranteed would have killed me. So no matter what happens there, I am dead. There is nothing that I can do about that other than just don't special attack them on their vengeance, which you might think, oh, that's not that hard, right? Well, any decent PKer is going to time a special attack with their vengeance or try to time their vengeance on your special attack. And at that point, there is nothing that you can do to outplay it. You are just dead. There is no skill involved in that, or if there is skill, it's very limited skill, and in my opinion, that is just so broken for PvP. It is immediately going to take the challenge out of it, and any hope for any new PKers trying to come in, let's say they're fighting somebody like me, or somebody who has been PKing, even for a decent amount of time, a year, 2 years, they don't even have to be a great PKer. If you die to that, I can guarantee you're not going to want to go back PKing because that is ridiculous. You get destroyed. No counterplay to that. You're just gone. It's basically the only prayer in the new prayer book that I have a problem with. And I'll give you a full disclosure. I did not even bother looking at the initial rounds. I don't even know how many rounds there were of all of the prayers, you know, of these new prayers. I didn't bother looking at any of the previous betas. I never looked or read into any of them because I was honestly just waiting for this moment where I'm pretty sure this is the last beta test and that these are going to, you know, have feedback given on them and then they're going to be pulled and then they could potentially make it into the game. So yeah, that's the only thing that I think should be reconsidered or potentially even entirely removed. That's just my opinion. If it makes it into the game, I think it's going to cause a lot of mayhem, but regardless, I'll be using it if it goes into the main game because this thing is going to be a content machine if it does go in, but personally, I don't think it'd be healthy for PvP. Just going through the rest of these prayers though, this prayer is basically just rapid heal on the old prayer book. Solo Mission also made a video on this too, and he made a really good point with it. Basically, a lot of this stuff is a reflection of the old prayer book because we like the old prayer book, and the old prayer book is really balanced. It serves a great purpose in the game, and you'll kind of see the general theme of that. Like this right here, I'm pretty sure is just the preserve prayer on the normal spell book because it's just basically like that, but for combat stats. Right here, you have your lower level prayers, which this is still pretty good for what it's worth. Increasing your attack, your ranged, your magic by 20% at a lower prayer level, that's still pretty good. We of course have protect item being added as well, which I don't really have a problem with it. I mean, if this is going to be in the game though, maybe there shouldn't be protect item and this. Maybe people should have to actually risk whatever they're bringing, which I think that could actually be a decent balance. If you're going to be like a crazy freaking guy and use Rebuke, you shouldn't be able to bring any +1s that you actually care about. This is a pretty interesting prayer, Ruinous Grace, when running prayer points are drained instead of run energy. It's pretty interesting. I think this was actually a suggestion I saw a while ago too. It's a pretty interesting idea. Like this is literally draining like my run energy would. They also have these 3 new prayers as well, Dampen Magic, Dampen Ranged, and Dampen Melee, which is kind of like Protect from Magic, Protect from Missiles, and Protect from Melee on the normal spell book, or normal prayer book, excuse me. But it has this effect where if somebody hits me with ranged and I'm praying magic, their ranged hit is going to be buffed by 10%. So for example, if I get hit with ranged and it normally would hit me a 10, but I'm praying protect magic, it's going to hit me an 11 now. This is kind of an interesting spell. It's kind of like a tri-wording spell, and it basically just increases your attack, strength, ranged, and magic by 15%. I think it's an interesting prayer. I like it. Again, we already went through this. This is basically just the preserved prayer. This is the new smite, which basically just drains your prayer and your opponent's prayer a lot faster. So Metabolize is an interesting new prayer that actually will affect PvP as well. So currently how it goes when you're attacking your target, whenever you need to go and actually eat, you know, I eat my food and then I go back to attacking my target, there is a small delay before you can continue attacking them, right? Well, with Metabolize, this actually makes that delay before you can attack them a little bit shorter. So I eat, and then I can attack a tick sooner. So it's definitely an interesting one. Again, this one's disgusting. Vindication heals you by 25% of your prayer level if your health falls below 10. Again, that is just a copy of Redemption on the normal prayer book. These 3 prayers are pretty much just the equivalent of Piety, Rigor, and Augury, but of course on the new prayer book with a bit of a buff to that. Fumus' Vow, attacks that inflict poison cause poison to trigger damage immediately. I'm going to be honest, I don't know about that. I don't care. Umbra's Vow, this is basically just the leech prayers from the old like 2011 curses version of this. And it basically just made its way into these prayers as well, which I don't really like sap prayers, but I mean, whatever. That's not the hill I'm gonna die on. Kuroro's Vow or Kuroro, I don't care about your name, dude. You can't read your freaking name. While activated, defeating a foe will drain 3 prayer points and heal 3 prayer points. This is basically just Soul Split, like repackaged into a new prayer. Kind of interesting. I'm pretty sure it's just like a weaker version of Soul Split. Glacier's Vow, pretty much just sap prayers as well, but now for magic. Wrath, which is just the new and improved retribution from the old spellbook. And I really like this one, especially for PvP. It's going to be good for PvM for sure, but for PvP, this one's really interesting. Intensify, it just basically increases your accuracy with all styles by 40%. So you're not going to be hitting harder, but you're going to be hitting a lot more consistently. And I think that's just such an incredibly cool idea. I like it. Basically, the only prayer that I don't like out of the new proposed prayers is Rebuke, because I think that is just broken. I don't think it's balanced. I don't think it's going to add anything new and fun. I think it's just going to break PvP in the wrong sort of way. But again, maybe I'm overlooking this. Maybe I'm wrong. It's just my opinion. I figured I would discuss it. Other than that, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time with another video.